Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. It's really exciting to be seeing the special issue come to fruition and to be thinking about some of the implications of it. So first of all, welcome to this event on making mass retrofit a reality. As Nick said, this is celebrating the launch of a special issue of Buildings and Cities titled Retrofitting at Scale, Accelerating Capabilities for Domestic Building Stocks. This was co-guest edited by myself and Professor Henk Vischer from TU Delft. Urgent personal circumstances mean that Henk has been unable to join us today, but we've both been looking forward to sharing some insights from the special issue and hearing from the fantastic speakers that we've got lined up for the session. So first, I'm going to provide a bit of background on the importance of retrofitting at scale and the aims of the special issue. After this, I'll outline some of the contributions in the special issue and key recommendations for action before introducing the remainder of the session. So the special issue focuses on domestic buildings, which account for almost a quarter of global anthropogenic greenhouse gas emissions. The majority of these emissions come from the energy used for heating and cooling buildings, which is set to grow in line with a global trend for increasing number of households and increased building floor areas. In addition, the vast majority of existing buildings are likely to still be in use by 2050, so deep energy retrofit of the existing stock is needed. Such retrofitting includes a combination of improving the building fabric to reduce the need for heating and cooling, and changing the building services, so the technologies used for heating, cooling, ventilation, hot water, and electricity, to use low carbon or carbon-free systems. So for successful outcomes, retrofitting must also embrace social, cultural, and material values and practices. However, and the thing that really underpinned this special issue is that the rate of retrofitting remains low. As an example, across the EU, deep retrofits that reduce energy consumption by at least 60% are carried out in only 0.2% of the building stock per year. There is a large gulf between current slow retrofitting rates and the portion of domestic buildings that rapidly need intervention to meet climate targets. And this special issue begins to address this gap by bringing together a collection of papers that focus on increasing the rate of retrofit. In particular, it aimed to explore the capabilities and capacities for delivering retrofit at scale. The impediments to retrofit are not technical in nature. The real problem is that underlying conditions do not currently support widespread retrofit. So to create the appropriate conditions, an actual mass retrofit of domestic buildings requires coordination and radical rethinking across different scales: national, municipal, neighbourhood, and individual sites. And the scaling up of retrofit requires harmonising many disparate silos of policy, governance, organisational capabilities and structures, supply chains, tools, and techniques. So looking across these aspects, the special issue presents new insights, ranging from how the capabilities of building practitioners develop, through detail on how heritage building occupants manage energy, to how local authorities can help to coordinate retrofitting at scale. Papers in this issue have also provided new tools and techniques of value to researchers and practitioners. In particular, the issue includes a typology of public sector energy service models, useful recommendations for developing RD-SAP, and a new framework for moisture risk management in heritage buildings. What's on the slide at the moment is just a list of the different articles in the special issue. So there's overlap in the themes covered by the papers, but broadly speaking, we have contributions on policy and governance, supply chains, heritage buildings, and considering change at the building stock level. So in terms of policy and governance, both of these contributions consider the role of local authorities alongside non-governmental actors in delivering energy retrofit. Both show that public sector actors play a crucial role in encouraging the uptake of retrofitting. On supply chains, These contributions both identify fragmented vocational education and training across supply chains and emphasize the need for longer-term support to deliver change in the construction industry. With regard to heritage buildings, studies here identify that standard energy models are not fit for purpose in evaluating heritage buildings. In particular, they overestimate energy use and overlook important factors like moisture risk management. And thinking about considering change at building stock level. So these papers take a wider view on the process of retrofit. For example, evaluating the feasibility and likelihood of future retrofitting across different building typologies and occupant demographics. The findings and tools presented provide guidance that can be implemented by policymakers and practitioners. However, there is still some way to go to deliver retrofitting at the speed and scale necessary to meet climate targets. And this special issue makes a series of recommendations for action. So I'm going to talk through each of these briefly, and the idea is that this provides some food for thought as we go on with the webinar and perhaps feeds into the Q&A later. So to begin, in terms of defining energy retrofit. So several of the papers highlight that we might need quite careful definitions of retrofit in order to encourage action. As an example, in heritage buildings, in this special issue, Wise et al. Highlights the role of softer interventions in delivering energy retrofit, like the use of heavy curtains. Whilst Gori et al. Emphasized that moisture and energy efficiency need to be considered together in retrofitting. When thinking through these definitions, there's a need to consider how this potential broadening could accelerate or slow retrofitting activity, and also shape the necessary training and actions to support supply chain actors. The second point is around establishing quality data and metrics. So good data are particularly crucial for planning domestic energy retrofitting at scale. For example, through area-based schemes that rely on accurate pictures of the existing building stock. However, and building on earlier work, papers in this issue show that existing data collection falls far short of what is needed. This rapidly became apparent with Scotland's pilot local heat and energy efficiency strategies, which are discussed in Hoffman et al. And work is required to ensure that rigorous detailed data are made available. A third point here is around developing business models, financing, and supporting consumer confidence. So retrofitting at scale can only be achieved if the unit cost of delivery and the risks to clients and building occupants are reduced. New financing models for domestic retrofit could be particularly beneficial here. Building on Tingey et al. In this issue, new business models and contractual frameworks for retrofitting at scale are needed. This includes performance-related outcomes, service-related pricing, performance guarantees, and models using a one-stop shop whereby one organisation might take responsibility for the entire retrofitting project. And next point is around supporting supply chains. So both Simpson et al. And Brocklehurst et al. Advocate for long-term curriculum development and looking to multi-generational interactions between practitioners. A next step is to look at how educational reform can be incorporated where necessary, and particularly how researchers can work together with policymakers and practitioners to incorporate change amidst these deeply embedded and complex educational systems. And finally, policy and governance actions. This is particularly pertinent in light of the recently announced heat and building strategy from UK government. Some of the suggestions that we're making here are for supportive governance and consistent long-term policy needs. And this needs to include developing existing tools, developing techniques to support area-based retrofitting, and the planning for that, using building energy models underpinned by good data to plan energy retrofitting at scale, and empowering public sector and non-profit actors to deliver retrofit at scale. Creating long-term campaigns and high levels of consumer protection to support householders, and elevating the importance of RMI trades for tackling the climate emergency and ensuring that vocational education and training is fit for purpose.